Welcome to Tell Me More, Coffee with Chris Yip, the official podcast of the Faculty of Applied Science and Engineering at the University of Toronto. Each month, I sit down with someone from our vibrant global community to talk about what places them at the heart of designing bold solutions for a better world. You'll meet alumni, students, and professors who are making a difference across a range of fields, including some where you may not expect to find them. As Dean of U of T Engineering, I've seen firsthand how mental health challenges affect our students. Today, I'm joined by two guests, Loui and Elena Pappas, whose support is helping expand access to care through a bursary created by our own student community. Loui graduated both an undergraduate degree and a master's degree in civil engineering, and his daughter Elena is a recent graduate of our chemical engineering program. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you for having us.
Loui, let's start with you. First off, we are both from '88. So Loui and I are effectively classmates, colleagues from back in the good old days. Loui, tell us about your most memorable experiences at U of T Engineering and about your Civ 88 class.
Summarizing 5 years in a few seconds is a tough haul. So I was in Civil Club for 3 or 4 years. So a lot of memories do revolve around all those events that we did for our class. I mean, there was a couple of trips to Quebec City for exchange. You know, during Winter Carnival, that was effectively a party weekend. But survey camp, of course, you know how impactful it is for civil students as well. Those
Right.
memories did last a lifetime.
Decannally approved trips to Laval. Is that what you were gonna
It was
say?
actually we were I think we were funded for NSERC, so it was even bonus. Like it was incredible.
Oh,
Like we
awesome.
got, ultimately, I mean, our memories really revolve around just the jokes about the hardships of passing, struggling on tests and exams, and just working with everyone on problem sets and just taking like a beating, like with the sheer volume of work, right? Like we know it hasn't changed much in subsequent years, but I think that's why U of T grads are so successful. You know, they're definitely well prepared.
I was going to say, I think one of the things which was cool about Civ in particular, right? You talk about camp a little bit. There's actually, and we've seen this because we've both gone up to camp up at Gull Lake for any Civs who are here, and non-Civs. This is a camp near Minden. There's actually a really lovely monument that you guys had built up there to sort of memorialize or commemorate your time as a cohort, right? Up
Yeah.
at camp and the community that you built at that.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously a lasting a tribute for sure. That and actually one of my memories was working in the Mark Huggins lab for
Mhm.
between third and fourth year, and by working that summer, like we were given access to materials and concrete and rebar, and we conveniently put it in a van, some of that in a van one day, and drove it up to Gull Lake the year after. We attended there and built that monument, and then we've come back since. And after 35 years of weathering, I think a couple of years ago, a colleague of mine and myself, we went up and bleached it and cleaned it from all the mold and algae and whatnot. So there's a few pictures online if you can find them.
I was up there. I have pictures of you guys cleaning it and that stuff. So, it's being memorialized. I think it may be on social media.
But ultimately the best memories, I mean, they just revolved around the friendships. Like some of
Yep.
these have now endured for 40, almost 40 years. Like not with
Yeah.
like with classmates and faculty. And we still get together and frankly, I had a second class. I have Civ 89 because during my master's I kind of also coalesced with them. And so there was a couple of good years there. And the running joke is how did a lot of us become successful, like 35, 40 years later? But it's really a testament to the foundation that the U of T engineering provided kind of all of us.
Elena, obviously your father was an influence, but tell us why did you choose engineering for yourself? And then also you went in a slightly different direction. You went into chem.
So I chose engineering because effectively it was what I was good at. I spent many years as a kid building things, doing, these contrived art projects that would employ the use of some of Dad's tools. I will say that there are some holes in his toolbox that were made by me over the years because I have slowly pilfered them. I dare you to find them, Dad.
I don't go dare search down in the basement.
My secret lab.
Well, you were always into the clubs and the camps as well, right, Elena?
Yeah,
That
I mean,
provided a foundation for you.
that's really why I was so dead set on U of T engineering. Like that was a do or die kind of thing for me because
Cool.
I was already so intertwined with the culture there through the camps and then through my dad's stories that there really wasn't any other option for me. I just liked chemistry. I had a terrible time in physics in high school, and I realized that CivE was also probably a no-go. But I enjoyed chemistry so much to the point that I was just my moseying along my very final chem exam for grade 12, and I was like, this is the answer, this is the answer, this is the answer. And then I got to this page where I was like, you know what? We'll save it until later. And then I keep going through my exam and I hand it in and everything's fine. And then 3 hours later, I realized, oh my God, I never did that page that I skipped. But my mark was fine. And I kind of use that story as a way to just kind of highlight like things are fine for me in chem, where I
Right.
just understand it in a way that I don't understand other areas of science. So that's why
Cool.
chem was again like the only one I really wanted to do.
I reminded myself that we actually had a coffee early
Yes,
on
we
in your
did.
career to talk about your interest in political science and stuff. And so I remember the same sort of exuberance when we were in our
Mm.
one-on-one chat about stuff and your interest in trying to do stuff with the monk school and stuff. So that reinforced the reason we actually created this political science or public policy certificate in engineering. So thank you for your interest in that space because it helped lead us down that path as well. Let me cycle back to Loui for a sec. After graduating, you went to work for Morrison Hirschfield, a Canadian-based multidisciplinary engineering firm originally founded. This is sort of the legacy of U of T engineering, two U of T engineering professors. Could you maybe talk a little bit about your career in that space?
Certainly. I mean, I've spent 35 years of my life at Morrison Hershey. I only had one employer all those times, save for recently as Stantec, another
Hmm.
great firm, has acquired Morrison Hershfield back in 2024. But yeah, I joined MH right after I completed my master's presentation. Like a week later, I was, finished all my degree requirements and started working there. And
No
I took on
vacation.
yeah, no, right into it. Well, remember, it was going into a pretty bad recession and we all knew it.
Yeah,
So like I got in and I'm, you know what, 5 years after that, like to think that there was like this backlog of grads waiting to get into the industry, it was like knock on wood, it was a godsend just to get in
yeah,
at that time. But yeah, I ran the gamut of all types of roles in professional consultancy practice, from design to analysis to project delivery and management, operations and people management. And ultimately, the last half of my career was more in business development. And I never really said no to an opportunity that presented itself, like by the firm, like whether or not it was in my career path or aspirations. Certainly, I built a lot of my props in business development, winning work for the firm and putting teams together, responding to
right.
RFPs and all these things. But I joined the executive team back in 2023, and it's really been a privilege to for me to represent Morrison Hershfield throughout the years and just be part of such a respected industry and just see a lot of the projects that we've worked on like really come into fruition across all communities in Canada, right? It's just great. We do it for, the public and the communities we serve. So it's been an amazing career.
Throughout the 35 years, you stayed involved with U of T engineering. Why was it
Mhm.
so important for you to maintain that relationship?
I've always had a strong pull to stay connected, like just with alumni events and departmental functions, volunteering for a broad-based assessment program, organize reunions. Like, it's just been really valuable to stay connected that way. I have to thank Nellie Pietropalo, who kept me
Hmm.
close to the department. She was the director of student services and external relations,
Nellie's
and
awesome.
she retired 41
Yep.
years. So do the math. Like she was that constant that mirrored mine, and my class is 10 years, right? So when she asked for support in years later, for any event initiative, I just couldn't say no. I'm glad she did. She kept me connected with U of T, and and obviously solidifying a lifelong friendship. But the main connectivity was just year after year meeting students at career fairs and just hearing their stories and watching them grow into successful people and professionals. And it just always fueled my desire to stay connected.
Let me cycle back to Elena for a sec here. So, as I mentioned at the beginning, your family's made a major gift to support mental wellness at school and at U of T Engineering, inspired in part by your personal experience. And your story is certainly central to this whole initiative. Can you share what you experienced during your time at U of T?
Of course. Yeah, so this story really starts in first year, where I know a lot of students do experience the first hardships. I was making lots of friends, but I was struggling so immensely in my courses, poor midterm scores, and then when it finally came to finals, I bombed several, and at the very last one, linear algebra, I had a panic attack, a full-blown panic attack within the accommodating testing services room. And I cannot do this podcast without giving the folks in ATS 340 a shout out. They were pivotal for me at my time at school. And so yeah, shout out to accommodated testing services. And if it applies to anybody listening to this, I do encourage you to reach out to them. So I failed several courses in my first semester, and that encouraged me to take a step back and figure out what the heck was going on. And I already knew that I would be dealing with multiple mental health issues throughout my time at U of T, noted by the fact that I was in accommodated testing in my very first semester for some anxiety and depression issues. And through the support of some of my friends at school who had also received an ADHD diagnosis recently in their adult years, I also set out to look into whether that was an issue for me, and lo and behold, it was.
Hmm.
So I was in first year engineering, grappling with this brand new ADHD diagnosis, and now facing how do I deal with this on the fly, knowing that next semester is going to start in a couple months. I was already doing T program
Right.
courses and summer courses just to catch up. How do I deal with that on the fly? And so I opted to go part-time for
Mhm.
second year chem.
And I
And that's
think
when the pandemic hit.
we'll layer on even more challenges
Yeah. I did
in that way.
1 year of in-person part-time and then another year of part-time through the pandemic. And I mean, I was
Online at that
part-time
point.
for
Yeah.
most of my time at U of T. I think there were only 2 years where I wasn't. I want to say the year that I did plant design, which of course is a great year to do a full course load.
It's sure. I will, and I will admit to remembering plant design with fond memories when I look back at it.
I would not knock plant design. Being able to put myself entirely into that really helped me regain my confidence.
Mhm.
So plant design is not all bad.
Yeah. So first, I'm going to say thanks for sharing that. I know it's a deeply personal thing to share the kind of the challenges, and so thank you for that. Stress is a challenge for everybody. And I think you pointed out several things that we've been doing at the university over the years. I think I can reflect back to when Loui and I were in '88. A lot of these things weren't there. There's been so many changes put in place to help students as we identify these challenges and ways to make the system help everybody succeed. You mentioned T program as one way to kind of help ease that transition, and the switch to part-time, we're fully supportive of doing that because we realize that this is the way to help people manage their time and accommodate different kinds of needs. And I think this is we can do a lot better, and we continue to work and listen to students and try to identify ways that we can help make the system work. We talk about the institutional community, but I'm going to reflect that a lot of what we're talking about here and we're going to hear about today is a little bit about the student community, right? And the way the students support. And I'm going to a little bit of personal anecdote. When I went through first year, in the first week of class, I was there for the first 2 days and then I disappeared for like a week. And it was really just because I actually got food poisoning. So be careful when you eat a hot dog on campus during orientation. And so when I came back, kind of the first people that came up to me were people I just met. Who weren't people I knew from high school. They were just other first years who were like, where were you? What happened? We thought you dropped out. How can we help you catch up on what you've just missed for the last week of class? And I think this is something which is interesting about engineering. These are people that you had just met and they're looking out for you, right? They're there to support you, even though you didn't really know them. And these are individuals that I've stayed in touch with over the past 40 odd years. And I think this reflects really the kind of community and the support that students have for each other. And then again, is reflected within the faculty. So I just wanted to kind of share that. Loui, what was Elena's experience like from your point of view, as both as a graduate and I guess as a parent?
Oh, yeah, it was hard to see, practically heartbreaking, like knowing how much Elena had dreamed of becoming an engineer. She was always a successful student, like throughout elementary and high school. And then when my wife Sandra and I saw her struggling, like we tried to help and we said all the usual things parents say to their, kids to be supportive, but I don't think that helped much. But but we saw firsthand how she used the
Yep.
accessibility services, so that was a little bit more comforting, and kudos for her for seeking that support, which ultimately definitely helped her cope. But she was determined, and just watching her persevere and eventually graduate was inspiring, and that made us want to help other students who might be going through the same right now.
And so you and Sandra decided you want to increase your involvement by supporting what at that point had become the Skule Mental Wellness Bursary program, which I think it was an interesting proposal because this came from NSOC. So NSOC, for those who are listening, obviously this is the Undergraduate Student Society, represented and supported by all the undergraduate students who reached out to the decanal office and said, we want to we need additional supports here, and we're willing to do this as the engineering society. And it was created by the students and the faculty to address mental wellness and health challenges that are faced by our undergraduate students. Loui, can you outline a little bit of what your gift is and what it will do?
We obviously wanted to give back to the faculty in a meaningful way. Obviously, U of T engineering provided really the launching pad for a 40-year career. So it was really a conversation with you, Dean Chris, one night over dinner and with your advancement team. Like they helped us
Right.
understand where the greatest areas of needs were, and mental wellness stood out, and getting through first year stood out. And then Elena shared her experience with Skule Mental Wellness, and it all just connected the dots for
Right.
us, right? It wasn't a new idea. Like we didn't have to conceive this bursary, launch it. It was already in place. It was already making a difference, and not just for for one or two, for like dozens, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
and that's what was important to us as well, that we help as many as we can immediately. And obviously, it was created, during the pandemic, which was difficult, but it reflected the care, like the kind of care and leadership that we wanted to support. And ultimately, supporting the bursary was going to be immediately impactful, which was the huge driver.
Elena, honestly, what did this mean to you that your family is able to support the Skule Mental Wellness in this way?
Oh my goodness, it means so much knowing how much and forgive me for being over dramatic here, but how much I suffered while in school, and knowing that me and my family might be able to relieve some of that for other students is incredibly important. And
Mhm.
one of the really big things to remember about supporting students' mental health is that mental health issues don't magically stop when you leave school. But it's kind of the same thing that we tell people about going into U of T engineering, that it will prepare you for the workforce. It'll prepare you in a way that will make you more resilient to stressful work environments. And I think it should be the same way for your mental health. Being able to provide students with the resources they need to not just support them through school, which is very grueling, but providing them with the skills throughout their lifetime, throughout their career, and even after their career. to be able to succeed and to be able to tolerate the distress that they may face.
There are two pictures in my mind right now, and one of them I actually looked up again. I'll send it to you. It was the
Mhm.
picture of yourself, Loui, and myself the day you got your iron ring. So there's a picture of all three of us holding our pinkies up, taking the picture. Like the realization of that, call it that dream of when you were in your basement stealing tools from your dad's tool chest and cutting up cardboard. But then also convocation, right? Seeing you cross the stage, shaking your hand, seeing that sort of feeling, right? I think that's such an important part of this, the journey, right? So I wanted to say I'm super proud of you. We're all super proud of you for making it through. It is grueling, I'll put it out there, but
Yeah.
it's also fulfilling, right? It's also an exciting time, and looking back, a powerful time in someone's life, right? To
Mhm.
go through this. Loui, how do you feel when you think about Elena's generation entering grads and the generations that are coming?
Quick answer is I'm very optimistic. I was hoping we could also maybe if I could take a couple minutes
Oh,
to
sure.
explain the bursary itself, like
Yep.
what it like we've heard the mental wellness bursary. The bursary really just helps students access mental health services, activities, therapy, accommodations,
Hmm.
really just making care more accessible. So, and we wanted to make an immediate impact. So we provided like a $20,000 funding initially for operational costs the next 2 years so that more students have access to the needed counseling and support and events that help them cope through the trying curriculum, right? The even more exciting part is the matching campaign where we're able to build up the bursary for the future so that no students have to be turned away in the long term. Like, and our
Right.
family is matching donations up to 50,000 over the next year. And just having met some of the student leaders, we're really impressed with them. We see a huge opportunity for the students themselves to even rally behind this campaign, and we hope that's going to happen. Socialize it even further. In the end, the fruits of the campaign will be benefiting students and their peers who need the extra support. And that's why, going back to your question, like I'm so optimistic. Elena's generation and those coming up, behind her are some of the brightest in the world, especially those going to U of T engineering. And what really stands out is their character, and as you said, they're diversely talented and compassionate. I think there's a lot of
Yep.
empathy with this group, and they're all driven. So that's what really inspires us. How openly they talk about mental health. They're
Right.
breaking down the stigma themselves, supporting each other. You said your example like 40 years ago with your
Yep.
colleagues out of the blue wanting to support you. You've told us
Yep.
the first year struggle is very real, right? And it's for many reasons. And all the changes and stressors that it brings that first year, we wanted to help keep these amazing students in the faculty, not lose them to just a challenge that can be overcome with the right support. So this is
Right.
our way of doing our little part to leave the profession in good hands and an investment in the future of engineering and the kind of world that they're going to build, and they're going to have their place in society, right?
It really is a wonderful support. Elena, again, thank you so much for sharing your story with everyone. It's such an important and impactful one. Again, I am super proud of your success. It's been a fun journey, an interesting journey talking to you over several parts during your term here at U of T Engineering. So any final thoughts and advice from either of you that you'd like to leave with the listeners, as it were?
Go for it, Elena.
Okay. So I
Words
just
of
want
wisdom.
to let any current students out there who are listening to this know that you are not alone. And even if you feel alone, that if there's anything we haven't really discussed in this podcast that you're facing, that you're struggling with, speak up about it. I can assure you that there are other people struggling through the same thing who also want to make it better. And one of the best ways we can do that is talking to each other and being open and being genuine with one another. I have this little phrase that I tell people just to to guide them, and it's stay silly, because you can't do anything in a way that just has you bogged down. You have to have at least part of yourself staying silly. So find something that lets you stay silly and hold on to it.
Loui.
I'll offer more thoughts than advice. I'm not an advice giver, but certainly our family support of this initiative is rooted in Ella's story. That story was described recently in a U of T engineering social post. Please, I'll ask our listeners to go to that and just see some of the story and some of the links to where you can donate, graciously donate. Ultimately, this bursary was born by students who cared about each other, right? And we know all good can come from people who care. And we're just simply saying, our family's simply saying, we care too. We care about your futures, your well-being, your ability to thrive, not just as students, but as people in society. For those who have already sent us, and me and my family, messages of support in recent days following the World Mental Health Day announcement, thank you so much. For those that have already donated, an even greater thank you. And to anyone still considering donating, remember, this was created by students for students. And by giving, you're joining a movement that's really helping future engineers not just become great professionals, but healthy and resilient and diverse people in society. So thank you for listening. Thank you, Dean Yip, and your advancement team and your comms team and mental wellness team that's really supporting our family's drive. And hopefully we'll hear more about this in the coming year. We've got this kind of year-long campaign to help socialize this initiative even more further. So thanks to everyone for listening, and for you as well for your ongoing support. You were part of the inspiration of establishing the bursary back in 2021, I guess it was. So from all I hear, you're a great dean, and the students love you, and keep up the good work. You're doing great work.
Great. Elena, Loui, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Super inspiring story. Thank you so much again for your wonderful support of mental wellness within engineering through this program. And we look forward to continuing this conversation. Again, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the podcast.
Take care. Thank you.
Thanks again for listening to Tell Me More, Coffee with Chris Yip. If you want to catch up on past episodes and to make sure you don't miss the next one, please subscribe. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and more. Just look for Coffee with Chris Yip. You can also check out at U of T Engineering on Facebook, Instagram, X, and LinkedIn for more stories about how our community is building a better world. And finally, if you'd be inspired to join us, we'd love to welcome you. If you're thinking of taking a degree or working with us on our research projects, you can find us online at engineering.utoronto.ca, or you can visit our beautiful campus in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I hope I can join you for coffee soon.